Okay. Let me get this up. Hi. Okay. Ugh, dirty. Hi, guys. All right, let me get it to live chat. Good. All right. Hi, 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 hi. It's Monday. Hopefully you guys had a good Monday. Mine was okay. Hi, Katie Owl. Sam, hi. Hi, Hexen. Hi, Barb. Karen, hello. Varla, hello. I don't recognize your name. Welcome. Hi, Joe. How are ya? Luke, Pansy, Kristen, Trisha, Michelle, Lisa. Yes, it has, Sam. I'm glad to see you back. All right, so there's about 800 things that I was going to do today. The first was talk to you about Lunasa. But when I was doing my research today, as happens a lot for some reason, it's hot in the UK. Oh, you poor thing. I know. I have to say, so you can't tell until you get really close. My forehead is burnt, and so it's like starting to be in the itching kind of phase, and I'm like, oh, it's driving me crazy because I don't want to do that because then it'll like peel and I'll look ridiculous. Oh, but Saturday was not good. All right. So, hello, Misty. Hi, Kristen. There is another one. Hi, Claire. So, when I was doing my research today, something came up that ended up, even with a peeling face, thank you, my love, that ended up sidetracking me, which happens sometimes. But usually that means that this is a topic that needs to be discussed because the universe kind of shoves something in my face and says, here, I know you had a plan for what you were going to do, but this is the new plan. What is that? Oh, that's part of my necklace. Okay. This is the new plan and this is what we're going to do. So I try very hard to listen to that because if I don't, then I find that whatever I was going to try to do, even though the universe put something else in front of me, it doesn't come out right. So I try to listen when the universe puts something in my path. And so here we are. So the thing, hi, long hair, skinny eyed toe. You just dropped the kids off at school. Good, good, good. Hi, Johnny Dragon. Hi, honey. And Janice, hello. So what was put in front of me today was Brene Brown, which we've talked about before. I did a whole talk on her her Netflix special and her TED Talk. She talked about vulnerability. And so we talked about vulnerability. That was a couple months ago, I think. At least a month ago. I think it was a couple months. And she did an interview in June with Russell Brand, who I love. It's funny. He has been a very transformational person in Britain, and has really come into his own spiritually wise, and talks to a lot of spiritual advisors and that kind of thing, and is super interesting because he's wide open and he's able to listen to all kinds of different spiritual people on all kinds of different paths. So the one that they just happened to put in front of me today was Brene Brown, who I love. Brene Brown. I think she's incredible, and she's highly intelligent, and her brain is very much different from mine. in that she is very analytical and very logical. And she comes from a background of research. And all of my stuff is usually comes from emotions, and hers comes from a very research analytical kind of place. And so because of that, I find it fascinating because it tends to back up a whole lot of stuff that I have already hypothesized. And it's super interesting to me when the research backs up the spirituality that I teach. To me, that's super interesting. So let me say hello to anybody else who came in. Hi, Deb. Bewitching Leviosa Crimson. Hello. Yeah, I know. I love his YouTube videos for sure. Hi, Missy. And Luna Rose is here. Hi. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And Pansy, hello. So I watched his whole interview, which I will post on the Facebook page in case you're interested. It was over an hour. It was like an hour and 20 minutes today. And I took all kinds of notes because so super interesting. Hi, Ravenheart. And like I said, anything that she does, I end up soaking in. And I love Russell Brand because he's just a very open person. And I love that he is willing to discuss a whole bunch of things that a lot of people aren't. Hi, Marge. And so I felt called to talk about this. So for whatever reason, we are going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about compassion. We're going to be talking about, a little bit, and it's funny, when they got into this story, fixing my pant line, annoying me. When they got into this video, I thought, wow, that's interesting, because they started talking about politics. And I came on, last week, I think, and talked about politics a little bit, and I try not to talk about politics a whole lot on my channel because it's not, I don't want to push anyone away who's from the other side from me, like with their belief system, because I don't think we need to do that. Just watch your walkthrough. Yay! Hey! Deb, Deb made me do it. Hi, Brooklyn. And Yvette, hi, honey. And you, hooey. Can't stay long tonight. You have to be at 1:55. That's all right, Bob. I understand, honey. Medical fields, you do what you do, huh? And it has been really crazy for retrograde. I don't know. Hi, Lilypad. So, the way that they started talking about politics, though, I think is something that we can talk about without... I don't know how to say this. She was just great. Let's discuss it. And then we'll get into, this is somewhat going to be about politics a little bit, although in the way that I want to approach it, I don't want to approach it from a Republican Democrat side kind of thing. It should be coming from a spirituality side. And that's why I found it so interesting. Okay. So Brene Brown, if you don't know her, she is a researcher. She has a doctorate in research. She studies vulnerability, not causing rifts, exactly. She studies vulnerability, and she is super interesting and super analytical. So again, I find her fascinating because I'm not like that at all. She's like the complete opposite of me, although a lot of her belief systems, that turns out, are very similar to mine. She's from Texas. She grew up in Texas. So again, very different from where I grew up. And I find it super fascinating. So to start out with, they were talking about the power structure in the entire world, not just the United States or Britain, although they were talking specifically about that. They were talking about the power structure, though, and how it has come about, and how we can change that. So she started out by saying, look, I can tell you how to take over the world, how to have as much power as you want, and that should give you some insight into the people who are in power right now. This is why they're in power. So there's two things. There's only two things. If you want to take over the world, there's only two things. One is you exacerbate people's fear and uncertainty. You weaponize vulnerability. So you take people's fears and their anxieties about the world and you blow them up and you make them seem even bigger than they are and more important than they are. You exacerbate them and really make them to be these huge, awful fears. Which I thought, wow, that is so, the power structure that is in power, that is so what seems to be going on all over the place, in Britain and America and a lot of different countries in the world right now, that those in power, those coming into power, seem to be really playing on people's fears. Number two is you deliver an enemy that they can blame for their fear and uncertainty. You put an enemy on a golden platter for them that they can blame for their pain and anxiety. And that's it. That's how you have unlimited power. You can take over the world. If you can make people believe that their fear and uncertainty is, first of all, founded, and if you can whip it up even more, and you can put some kind of enemy on a golden platter and set it in front of them and say, this is why. Which is absolutely what's been going on around the world. We look at Puerto Rico now, what's going on in Puerto Rico, which is scary and sad and also empowering and kind of like, you know what, good. They are fighting for themselves and it's at the same time it's scary and it's sad because they have to do that and that kind of thing. You look at what's going on in the United States, same thing, this fear-based policy, these things that keep coming up that seem like they're only racial divides. It's playing on people's fears and it's whipping up people's fears and it's making them think, you know what? Yeah, I should be afraid. The immigrants that are coming in, what do they talk about? They talk about, I know, Hexen, I know. They talk about how they're going to take your jobs and they're bad people and they commit a lot of the crime that happens. And none of that is true. But they whip that fear up and that anxiety and make it seem bigger than it even is. The Mercury retrograde has shown me I need to figure out how to give my compassion boundaries so I don't leak out all my resources mentally, energetically, and financially. Awesome, Emerald. And we're going to get to that because that's the part that I thought, oh my goodness. But let me get to that. That's true. Unfortunately, things worth having usually have to be fought for. That's true. It's necessary to force the change we need. Definitely. Absolutely. I don't fear immigrants taking jobs. Robots, right? Right? That's true. They're going to take more jobs than immigrants are, for sure. And also what they're doing is delivering an enemy on a platter. And so this enemy, they're doing either immigrants or the other side, Democrats, Republicans, whoever the other side is, we seem to be delivering those people on a platter and saying, here, these are the people you can blame. Yes, on Russell's channel, exactly. Yes. Yes, Yvette, for sure. So then she started talking about the actual pain. My employer is right. Hi, Shauna. So the actual fear, so any fear comes from pain. And that's the first thing to realize as in any spiritual work, when we talk about shadow work and stuff like that, when we really dive into shadow work in the fall and in the winter, all fear comes from some kind of pain. So all hatred, all uncomfortability, it all comes from pain. So you have to kind of hone in on that. And something she said, she talked about Father Richard Rohr, and a quote from him I thought was just wonderful. It says, pain that is not transformed will always be transmitted. So this whipping up of fear is not transforming their fear and making them understand where that fear comes from and transforming that fear into something. Like if you're really afraid of something, if you really have pain about something, then you should be able to find a way to transform that pain into, okay, let's do something about it. Let's change it. Let's work it in a different way. Let's try to help the situation. And instead of trying to do that, to transform that pain, they are blowing it right up. And if they don't take care of the initial pain, what is causing the pain? If they don't take care of that pain, if they don't transform it, it's always going to be transmitted. So we're always going to transmit that pain somehow. We're going to give it to somebody else. We're going to find a way to make someone else feel that fear and anxiety and pain that we have. So that's part of why we do shadow work, right? How about creating problems just to take credit on fixing it while blaming it on the enemy they served you on the platter? Absolutely. For sure. True. I have a dentist appointment tomorrow. Not my favorite place. My anxiety is going to be through the roof. True. Absolutely true. I love living in SoCal. We do not feel this way. Kids in cages is wrong. Vote blue no matter who, right? And I agree, but I'm trying not to make it about blue and red. But I have to say I agree with you. Unfortunately, a lot of the politics, though, the politics part of it is not going to change a whole lot until we get money out of the system. But that's a whole nother thing. But until we completely find a way to get rid of lobbyists completely, then there isn't going to be, a total fix. But anyways, don't build up the anxiety, says my dentist. Trip will be like a picnic, right? Yes, start by saying it's going to be okay. I would also specifically talk to your dentist about, I have a huge amount of anxiety about this. So I need you to explain each thing you're going to do to me step by step and what the pain management is going to be. Like if I start feeling pain, I can flag you down and you're going to do this specific thing for me, right? And that will help. That should help with the anxiety. Okay. Hi, Kay. 30 self-challenge, right? Yes. Hi, Jack. Okay. So the other thing that they talked about is it's funny that they are now demonizing socialism, and they're demonizing socialism everywhere. So I'm not just talking about the United States, but in the whole thing with Brexit and all that kind of stuff. That was because socialism was demonized. What are the principles of socialism? Fraternity, oneness, looking after one another. And Russell Brand pointed this out, and I thought, that's pretty funny. That's the same principles of Christianity. Fraternity, oneness, looking after one another. And it's so funny to me that some of these evangelical, hard right people are the ones that are terrified of the word socialism. And it's just the same principles that they're supposed to already believe in, is to take care of one another, that we are all one, that the least well-kept person brings everybody else down, So if you take care of the least well-kept, it brings everybody up, right? The boat. Thank you, Kay. And then Brene said, can any system thrive? We need socialized medicine. Yes, Lily Pad. That one I cannot say enough. I don't know how to say that in any other way that isn't like a Democratic principle or Republican principle or whatever. We're like the only civilized country in the world now that doesn't have health care for all. That seems ridiculous. But anyways, so her point was, can any system, though, any system, meaning any government, any system from within, thrive when it's devoid of spirituality, when those systems only exist to serve people who are inherently spiritual beings? Whether they are a religion or just believe in a connection with each other. There's the definition. I loved her definition of spirituality is belief in the inexorable connection between human beings grounded in love and goodness. I love that. That definition of spirituality is perfect. That is just what I teach and how I teach it, right? The connection to everybody. I love it. So first of all, any questions yet? I don't want to go too fast, but this was so super interesting, and it builds up to other stuff. Exactly. Evangelicals have twisted Christianity into something that is not even recognizable. I agree. It's so not, that's why when I talk about having any issues with Christianity, I try to explain that it's not a specific path of Christianity. I don't have a problem with all Christians. I have a problem with Christians who spout their belief system and then judge me for not being whatever. I'm so lost. I don't do politics at all. It's a bad thing, but I can't stand politicians. I feel like they all lie. Yep, they probably do. You're probably right. I think some politicians mean well, but they still don't always tell the truth. So again, this isn't, to me though, this is less about politics and more about the social structure of where we are in the world. That's okay. And if you guys aren't interested, you don't have to stay. I certainly don't point you at gunpoint and make you stay ever, for sure. We have to pay attention though, right? I know. And I would hope that you would all at least be interested in how my point with all this turns into how we can feel compassion, how we can be compassionate people and still have boundaries, which is, it's kind of like building on, you have to build up the base first so you understand when you get to the top how we got there, right? All right. I have a problem with Christians who only help other Christians or help in order to convert the ones they help. Yeah, I hear you. The problem is that the churches don't want to lose their financial means. That's true. And that's a scary thing, I'm sure, for the Catholics and stuff. I'm sure that the Catholic people and the Catholic hierarchy especially has to be terrified of what's going to happen to their beloved church because, they're losing people in droves. Russi had a priest who said that the church was made to help the people, not themselves. And that's what has happened. I was like, interesting. Yeah, Russell. Oh, yes. You're lost. What are you lost on, Shauna? What didn't make sense, honey? Now is the time to educate yourself on politics because what is taking place right now demands our attention and our voice. So nice to hear people that think similar to me. Where I live, it's a lot of evangelical right-wingers, right? Have you looked into Andrew Yang? Yes, and I love him. I really, as a matter of fact, it's funny. We were talking about, I would love to support Andrew Yang. It's too bad that the world isn't ready for him yet, and it won't work. I mean, it would work, but the world isn't ready for that yet. Because I totally think what he has to say would work, but create the change we want to see. Yes, exactly. FDR passed 3 weeks before socialized medicine, then they killed the bill. I know. Good night, Ravenheart. Things are going to get better because what goes down must come back up. A lot of people are changing for the better, and there has to be a global energy shift to change the damage that has been done. Exactly. And that's very true, Brooklyn. And that's where it comes from at the end of this. It really is about if we have compassion for other people, there is things that we can fight for that don't have to do with left and right and all that kind of stuff, but there's things that we can do within the structure that we have to, try to put as many of those changes in place as we can, at least to teach others to be compassionate. Okay. So when we're talking about how she learned about compassionate people, Brene Brown did a ton of research. Like I said, she has like a doctorate in research. And that, which is, again, super interesting to me. I don't think I could ever do that because my squirrel brain would not follow one path long enough to get to the end of the research. But I love listening to it and doing as much research as I can. But part of the reason evangelicals have gained so much power is because they've turned compassion and empathy into a weakness instead of the true strength. That's true. That's true. Bye, Missy. Thanks for stopping, honey. So, one of the things that she talked about was that in the 50s, they did research that probably would never be allowed to be done again about compassion. And she said, this is how we were trying to figure out, we meaning the researchers, were trying to figure out all these compassionate people. They did a test for compassion where they brought people in and they talked about, they had a whole bunch of questions and, they researched how to ask these questions and all that stuff. The problem that they were trying to figure out is, what do all compassionate people have in common? And it was not what she thought it was. She thought that, it was different things, and she could not quite place what it is that compassionate people have in common. And so then they started looking at past research, because like in the 50s, they could do research that you don't really do anymore. So what she said was they did research on dying children in the 50s. They went into hospitals in the 1950s, and they found that nurses and doctors and parents, that they all were doing one thing with these kids. They were not telling these children that they were dying. To dying children, they would say anything but, oh, you're going to be fine. Everything's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. Yes, you're sick right now, but you're going to get through this, and we're healing you, and everything will be great. So the researchers went in, and they did not say to them, you're dying, but they asked them, so how are you doing? What's going on with you? And what they found was the kids all knew. They all knew that they were dying. But because no one was talking to them about it, they would say, well, I'm dying. But they said, it must be really bad and really painful, though, because no one is talking to us about it. They won't tell us. So it must be horrible. Whatever I have, I'm terrified because I'm going to die a horrible death because they won't talk to me about it. Rip your heart right out of your chest and stomp on it, right? That was horrible. What they found out from that is that compassion isn't always, everything's going to be all fine, right? Kids are way too smart. Compassion is not telling people what they want to hear. Compassion, that helped their definition, right? I know. Compassion, it helped their definition of compassion. Because these kids, they knew already. But instead of hearing compassion, what they realized was that the kids were smart enough to know that they were dying, but because they knew that, they thought something totally different. They thought that they were going to die a horrible, painful death. They deserved the truth. Exactly. So, from that, Hold on. All right. I missed a note. Hold on. I'm compassionate because I don't. Okay. From that, they then realized that compassionate people, they realize the thing somehow that they all have in common is that compassionate people have boundaries of steel. They have extremely rigid boundaries. And I thought, how is that possible? How is it that they are compassionate, but they have super rigid boundaries? Like, I thought, when she first said that, I thought, no, that's not it. That can't be right. But then she started explaining. She said, when they went back and re-interviewed everyone, they said that they were compassionate because they don't subject themselves to the abuse of other people. So people who, for instance, they talked to people who were victims of domestic abuse. Hi, Saturn. People, even kids, should always be told when they're dying, we need to remove the taboo of death. Absolutely, Trish. I could not agree more. Caitlin Dougherty, Order of the Good Death. Yes. Oh, that's a good one. So what they found out was that they talked to people who had been abused. And the people who left, the women who did not stay with their abusers, who took their children and left the situation, were way more compassionate to the abuser than the people who stayed. Because the people who left said, you know what? They were doing the best they could in that situation, but they couldn't help themselves. I realized that that's who they were, and I could not subject myself and my child to that, so we left. And the people who kept thinking, oh, well, maybe we can make them change, maybe we could blah, 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 they stayed because they kept having this wrong belief that somehow I will help them to change. So their compassion was not compassion. It was an overabundance of weird belief in themselves that they could lord their power over them eventually and make them change. Right, Shauna? It does make sense. And so at first I was like, no, that can't be right. Hi, Lady Blind Wolf. But it absolutely makes sense when you think about being able to have compassion for someone does not mean you allow them to put their shit on you. You have to have up these boundaries that say, oh, you know what? You're doing the best you can, and it's not your fault. But I choose not to allow you to hurt me in this space because it's not your fault. That's all that you know. That's all that you can do. I have to choose differently for me because I know better, or I know I'm not that. Yes. Okay. So she asked these people, she asked don't internalize other stuff. Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard to do. Yes, you need compassion for yourself first. Yes. They asked a whole bunch of people, do you believe most people are waking up in the morning and they are doing the best they can? And this was really interesting too. Because a lot of people said, hell no, I don't think people are doing the best they can. I think people are lazy. I think they aren't doing the best they can. Blah, blah, blah. That was why I wanted to do a release and invoking spell, but I got sucked and we had a bad storm. Ah, boo. Hi, Donna. So if people said, no, I don't believe that people are doing the best they can, there was a follow-up question for them, which was, okay, you don't believe people are doing the best they can. If the divine God, goddess, the universe, your guardians came down in front of you and told you, nope, you're wrong. They are. This is the best that they can do. Would you believe it then? Do you think then? How would you feel then? And what they realized is that most people then broke down crying. Most people went, oh my gosh, if that's the best they can do, then I have to stop being angry at them for not doing the best that they can do. Then it's a me problem. Then it's a I'm expecting someone to be someplace that they're not, and they can only do so much. They can only take the experiences that they have up until this point and do as good as they can from what they have been given. And now it's me. Now I have to change how I'm looking at other people. Which was a huge breakthrough. It was like, oh my goodness. If that happened, then how in the world can I expect them to be someplace that they're not? So I don't need to be so hard on patients who show up late for their appointments. That's where shadow work comes in. Exactly. So, and she told a story about her sister. She said, I asked my sister this question. A lot of the issue is our current society, especially women bashing other women. Absolutely, Lady Blind Wolf, and I am with you there all the way. So she asked her sister this question. Her sister said, hell no, I don't think people are doing the best they can. I think they're lazy. I think they're blah, blah, blah. She did the second part. What if the divine came down in front of you and said, nope, they are. This person is doing the very best they can. And they put it down to one person. They said, think of one person that you think could be doing better, that you think, nope, they're definitely not doing the best they can. And write it down. And then turn the paper over. And then they said, okay, God comes down, the divine comes down, God has come down, so your guardians come down and say, nope, flip this paper over. This person is doing the absolute best that they possibly can every day. And her sister started crying. And she said, okay, who did you have written down? And it was their other sister. And she said she was a dancer. And now she's a stripper. And I have been so upset and worried and judging and trying to explain to her how her children are going to be affected by the fact that she's gone down this wrong path. And if that's true, if she's really doing the best that she can, then I have to stop being angry at her, and I have to grieve the loss of the sister that I thought I had. Thoughts create. Oh, that's a good one. Thoughts create. That's right. Hi, Pat. So, yes, it was. I try to remind myself, don't take it personally. It's not about you. That's exactly it. And that is so hard. It is so hard. It all boils down to judgment, because judging others makes some feel better about themselves. That's right. That's right. Her children are eating because she's a stripper. That's right. But there was some kind of personal, that's right, especially if it's about family, right? That is so hard. I think about that with some of my boys. It's so hard to think that's all they can do. That's the best that they can do. And I have to accept that that's the best that they can do. And if I do that, then yes, sometimes we have to grieve. We have to say, oh my goodness, I have to grieve the loss of what I built up in my head. But once that's done, then they stop hurting you, because you Stop feeling like you didn't do something correctly, like you should be able to talk them out of this thing, that you should be better to do this. You stop taking responsibility for it. Something happens where you disconnect your line from them and say, you know what, they are doing the best that they can. Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing the best I can, and often deities tell me that I'm doing just fine. That's right. That's right, that's right, that's right. It's hard to be compassionate when people are hurting you, right? And why are you hurt? What did we say? Because it's pain, it's fear, it's anything that is hurting you is unacceptance. Your unacceptance, you cannot accept what is right in front of us. So if I'm hurting, it's because I'm not saying, you know what, this is what is. It's my issue to not accept that this is what it is. It's my problem to say, I expected more. That's not their problem. That's my problem. Love is love. That's right. Kill with kindness. Absolutely. So, at the very least, her husband, she asked her husband this question. Her husband said, I don't know. I have to think about this. Is everybody doing the best that they can? He came back and he said, I have no idea, but I do know that my life is better when I assume that they are doing the very best that they can. If I assume that about everyone, my life is better. I accept more. As parents, it's so hard to realize that. So hard. Absolutely hard. You can only help someone who is willing to help themselves. Yep. And there is only so far that they can go. They can only take the experiences that they have. So a lot of times our expectations are because we've been through all kinds of other things. So we carry all of this knowledge and all of this experience with us, and we expect they know all of the stuff we already know. And we can't expect them to live the same way or to have had the same experiences and knowledge happen to them. They don't know the same things that we know. And it's really easy to try to tell people what we know. But if you're anything like me, I only learn what happens to me. I've had a million people tell me this and that and this and that. And unless I've gone through it, good luck. I'm not learning that lesson. That wasn't my lesson. That was your lesson. And until it becomes my lesson, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Because I didn't get there. I just wrote on myself. Her husband's response was beautiful, right? Boundaries can be fear. That's true. That's true. Or they can be love. You can say, I cannot let you past here because I respect you and I love you, but this is my boundary and I love myself. I'm using my daughter's channel. Don't have one. My name is Witchy Mom. Hi. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so anger, resentment, and self-righteousness can be a drug. She was saying her drug of choice is anger, resentment, and self-righteousness. So me. I have a lot of that I have to let go of. And I try at I have to say, for probably, 10 years, one of the things shadow work wise that I have worked on is anger and resentment and some self-righteousness in there too. And that has to do with my stuff. Spirituality is the belief in the inextricable connection between human beings grounded in love and goodness. I love that. Put a poster up that. When you avoid conflict to make peace with other people, you start a war within. That was a good one. I loved it. Okay, so the bottom line was all people who had compassion, we do our best. Yay, that's right. Hi, Corin. I'm just starting off on the witchy path. Well, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Did Thomas come in? Did I miss Thomas? Did I really miss Thomas? Where the heck is he? What is he way up here? Oh, yes. There he is. Hi, Thomas. Oh, my goodness. What the heck did I just do? I don't know. I did something. Hang on. Where is it? Okay, it's giving me a commercial. Isn't that nice when I'm live? I love it. This is my channel. Okay, there. All right, so to finish up the boundaries piece of it, what she found was that all compassionate people, the one thing they had in common was they had boundaries of steel. And why is that? Because the boundaries were to protect the other person from our own self-righteousness, from saying, what did she talk about? Oh, the example that she gave, because I was like, I don't quite understand this. The example that she gave was, she said she had a Christmas party every year and for like the whole neighborhood and stuff, and she had given up gossiping. Yay! And she had given up gossiping, and this one neighbor came over and got drunk all the time and acted like an idiot. And she decided she couldn't let her come over and get drunk because she didn't think she was going to be able to not gossip if she did this. And she didn't want that in front of her kids, and she didn't all that stuff. So she invited her over, and she said, look, I'm really looking forward. We're having our Christmas party. I'm really looking forward to you and your husband and your children coming. I have to tell you ahead of time that I truly cannot wait for you to come. If you come, though, you cannot drink when you're here. And she said the first thing the woman was like, oh, I know, I went overboard. I'll make sure I don't go overboard. And she said, no, I don't mean going overboard. I mean, if you come, you cannot drink anything. And the woman was like, are you telling me that if I come to your party, I'm not allowed to drink anything? You're going to tell me that I can't drink anything? She said, yes, I'm telling you that. And Russell was like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? How did you get the cojones to say that to her face? And she said, because it was not about her. It was about, this is my boundary. I'm saying that I do not want to allow this into my atmosphere. And because I don't want to allow this into my atmosphere, I'm not judging you for drinking. If you want to drink wherever you want to drink, go right ahead. I'm telling you, this, my house is my boundary. And so because I don't want to allow this into my boundary, I'm sorry, but if you come, and I truly hope you are going to come, this is my boundary and you can't do that. And it took a while for Russell to get it. There were several different, examples that she used. But in the end, I thought, that's so true. She didn't say to her, I decided not to gossip. And so because I don't want to gossip about you, I'm so great, I'm not going to gossip about you. You have to make sure you don't drink when you come. She said, I didn't want to make it about me. It was, this is my boundary. There was no emotion into it. There was no judgment. I had this boundary, and I need to let you know ahead of time that there's a limit. And there was no judgment in it. It was just a boundary. Realizing I've done it my whole life and having to stand up for myself and set new boundaries. Yes, that's my sister always drinking. We don't go over much. Dang, good for her. I'm not that good with boundaries yet. It's about their actions. Yes. No, I said dang. Thank you. Can you have more than one channel if you only have one laptop? Yes. Yes, you can sign into different Gmails, and then you have a different channel with different Gmail accounts. Hi, Leah Lynn. How are you, sweetie? We smoke outside, never in the house. Exactly. Yes, yes, yes. My family has very few boundaries. Yes. Okay. And I have an example of that too. When my father-in-law was alive, try not to say this in front of my husband because he idolized his father, but his father was an alcoholic. When his father was alive, I set a boundary because he was like a violent man when he was drinking. He was It was a different situation. But when he wasn't drinking, he was okay. And I decided I wanted my children to know him. Because that was important for Peter, for one thing. And so I set a boundary, and I set it very clearly, and I did exactly the same thing. I didn't realize it until Brene had started talking about it. But it was exactly the same thing. I said, Dad, I want the kids to know you. I'm so glad that when we bring them over here and you haven't been drinking, it's been awesome. But when you have been drinking, I can't have the kids around you. That's just something. I don't want them to be exposed to alcohol because they already are going to have a predisposition to it in their family history. And so, if you aren't drinking and you call us up and say you want us to come over, I'll be happy to bring the boys over, and so excited because they always have a great time when they're here. And it put them off a little bit at first, but as a matter of fact, I think there was once or twice that he had been drinking and we came over and I was like, oh, sorry, I'm so sorry you decided to call us when you had been drinking, but call us again when you're not. And I packed the kids back up, put them in the car, and we left. And the next time he called, he had not been drinking. And so the kids had a great time, and I was like, thank you so much. This was great, Dad. And I'm really, really excited that the kids can spend time with you. I love this. And he learned. He learned, and I learned, and the kids, he died fairly young. So the kids learned that their papa was a great person. They didn't know that other person. And that's what I wanted. They have memories. They have great memories of him. And they don't have any memories of the icky, drunk, violent papa, which is perfect for me. I love it. Right. Tomorrow will be 8 years Amy Winehouse died. Wow. Russell Brand was close to her. Yes, absolutely. I know it. My sister is an alcoholic. Is that a skeleton bride and groom? It is. That one, yep. For sure. I think I got that at Savers, as a matter of fact. Witchy Mom. Yes, you have to sign into your Gmail account and then go to YouTube. Exactly. That had to have been difficult, but worth it. It was. It was absolutely. It was wonderful. And they have great memories of him because of that. So that was a compassion with boundaries. My grandfather is the type that likes to put one toe in the door, then another. Before you know it, the boundaries are gone. Exactly. Which is why you have to set up. That's why she's talking about boundaries of steel. You have to set up that steel boundary and say, oh, there isn't one toe. This is the boundary. And I'm sorry that you chose to cross that boundary. Whatever that thing is, you can't have that anymore. You have to leave now. We have to leave now. However that works for you. It has to be. And if you put it as their choice, oh, I'm sorry you chose to do that. Unfortunately, that means we have to go now. But I hope next time we'll come and have a great time again. And love ya. Have a great day. My daughter doesn't know anything about my dad's alcoholism either. He died from drinking May of this year. Thank you so much for speaking about this. Absolutely. And my father-in-law, he died from drinking. He ended up with hepatitis B, liver problems, diabetes, and eventually he was in his 50s when he died. And it was because of alcohol. What did I miss? I have no smoking beyond this point. Signs on doors. Perfect. You see what reflects you. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. My daughter is special needs and has her own YouTube channel, and I got on it, and my videos are don't judge me. Too many people judging others. That's good, Trudy. That's good, Witchy Mom. Good for you. That is not easy, for sure. Okay, So that, I don't know. For some reason, I felt very called. That's okay. I felt very called to do this video. So I don't know if someone out there needed this video or I needed to say it again. But it had to be said. I work tomorrow, but I work later. Tomorrow is my late night. So I work 11 to 7:30 at night or something. I may do a video anyways, but I'm not going to promise because it depends on what kind of day I have. However, I am going to probably record a video tomorrow morning and upload it because I'm doing a video on Lou since Lunasa is a week from Wednesday. You're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. Lunasa is a week from Wednesday, and so I will be doing my next deity video. I did Morgana. The next one will be on Lou. What do you do when people don't listen to your boundaries? So the problem has to be that it's their choice. They have, if you put two choices and they have two choices. Their choice is, this is the boundary and you can follow the boundary, or da-da-da-da. And it has to be set up ahead of time. So unfortunately, it's hard to do if someone's in your house. So I would start with the boundary at their house, or make it so you can walk away from the situation. So the choice is, I would love to come and spend time with you and we can eat dinner out, or I would love to come to your house and eat dinner. But this is the boundary, and if this boundary isn't kept, then I will not be able to stay. And I'll be sorry that you have chosen not to comply with that boundary. And so when that boundary breaks, they walk over that boundary line, then it is easier for you to remove your situation. It becomes, oh, I'm sorry that you have chosen to do that. I'm leaving now. I hope that next time you will make a different choice. Love you so much. Bye-bye. So you have to put yourself in that situation that you can take back the choice, Love the video on Morgan. Oh, good. Yay, yay, yay. Very helpful. I'm listening to the playlist. Yay. I know, right? Weren't they great, Pat? I have to say, I love Joey Morris's videos on the Morgan are awesome. And the other woman, Laura O'Brien, she is Irish and she works in the field. So she is really super knowledgeable about it. So I thought they were great videos to link. So I'm glad you're getting stuff out of it. Yep. Absolutely. I've had to kick my grandfather out of my house for overstepping my boundaries. I know it's not fun. It is not. I know. If only listened to a couple so far, ran out of time. That's okay. Also, stellar ring dancer, fellas, the Morgan. Thank you, Jack. Yeah, Laura is amazing. She's super knowledgeable. And Joey is amazing anyway. I love Joey anyways. But, so I'm going to be doing the whole deity series. There's a whole lot of deities. So I will try to get to as many as I can. I will try to start a list in the Facebook group about, what deities I have in mind, and then you guys can add the deities that you would like me to cover in case I don't, immediately know of what ones you want me to cover. Like I said, the next one on my list, which I will be recording this week, is Lou, because Lunasa is coming and that's who we're celebrating. So I want to make sure I get that one in there for, before Lunasa. The Facebook group is, if you go to our About page, here on YouTube, if you go to my About page, it gives you some links, and the Facebook link will take you to our Facebook group. And just there's two questions. One is, are you a member or are you subscribed to my channel? And what is your YouTube username? So we can follow that up. And then you'll be let in, and we have a great time on there, and a lot of the stuff that we talk about here, I try to link there, and we try to help each other out. I don't do deities, but I found a lot of very interesting. Thank you. And that's exactly right. If you don't do deities, it's okay. It is something YouTube refers to buffer for 3 minutes straight. That was weird. Can you do Hecate? Of course I can do Hecate. Yay! I'm super glad that that you all were able to join me too. Good. And we'll let you right in. Of course I can do Hecate. Hecate is one of my babes. So I will be doing a couple of children's books for Lunasa. This week we're going to continue our cartomancy series probably on Thursday. Ellen of the Way. Ah, yes, another Celtic goddess. Love her. I will do her too, for sure. And I will try to get some of the stuff done. Like, I'll start that list, okay? Your birthday's tomorrow. Yay, little Dandelion. Happy birthday. Woohoo. Everybody's getting older. All right, guys. And I will be doing free readings. I just got to figure out what day. I'm not sure when, but this week sometime for sure. Wednesday is the tea party. Tea party will be Wednesday at 3:30. I can't remember which one I said. 3 or 3:30. All right, guys. I love you guys so much. Thanks for coming. Have a good Tuesday.